So let's start with the first question of today, which is how do you download a GitHub model and reverse engineer. So I'm just gonna go to the website. So let's see how to CAD MIT. I think it's, so I'm gonna, this is the old AIP. So let me go to the next page. And let's go, for instance, to session one. Uh, let's download the phone as an example. So I'm just gonna download that profile. And let's open it in here. Very good. Yes. So once you open this file, like this is what you get. So hopefully, you have an Excel, this is what you get. I'm actually not terribly, I'm gonna say right now. I try to do the phone pretty quickly. It's not my finest piece of art in here, but it's truthful to being a blocky phone, right? Which was like the purpose, just to learn how to put like text and numbers. But we'll get much better than this. Anyways, so this over here that you see on the left side, this is the feature tree. There's some softwares like SolidWorks where it's a little bit more obvious. There's like a bar that allows you to move in the history of time, but essentially it's very logical in the sense of it's you start, so extrude number 2 would be the very first thing. So actually, you know what? Let's go over it together. How did I do it? So I started by doing sketch 1. So I'm just editing in here. So all I did is I just came here and I drew that center line in there to get the width of the phone. And then I started drawing a couple of lines. In here, in fact, I think I also did that a center line and then an arch. Yeah, so this is the base sketch. Just a couple of dimensions. You could have made it just a rectangle and that would have worked fine. Then I clicked on finish. And then I went here to extrude and I just gave that some volume. And I said, okay. So then I applied the edge blends here around the piece. And then what did I extrude? So then I did another sketch on the top face of the phone. Yeah, this is just to start giving it some decorations in here. So just drawing a couple of lines. Again, not particularly happy with whatever this design is, but you can make it whatever you want, right? And then I extruded that upwards by a very tiny amount, right? I just want this to be barely noticeable, but noticeable enough that then I can color it, right? And make it look nice. And I clicked OK. And then just a couple of, where's that edge blend in here? Let me edit. Right, so I made that round in there. What else did I do? Round. I did also that round. And then just a couple of, maybe the one that is more important is, so these edge blends are for when I did the numbers in there. So all of the numbers are based in this sketch. There's just a number of techniques, right? So defining the sketches right with angles so that I have it all properly aligned. Maybe the numbers is the most important thing because the way it works is that you go here to, I think it is, what is it in curve? Yeah, so you go to curve and you click in text. And when you go to text, this is like the command that appears. So there's you go here to the drop down, it's called on curve. So you can select, for instance, that curve in there. And then with this point, I can just drag it around. For instance, I could have had the number in there. And then you can select, actually, it's pretty comprehensive. Let's see if they have Georgia as an example. Which one? Well, they do have Georgia. So that's, I was once told if you write an academic paper to always write it with Georgia font. But don't. So that's what I've been doing for the last 10 years. And I think somewhere it allows you settings. There's a part where it says dimensions. I'm just trying to find text properties, kernel space. Yeah, no, because parameter is where it is. Oh, here. I just need to go down there. Yeah, so you can specify a couple more parameters on how big you want the number. So normally in other softwares, the text is part of the sketch. Here in Onshape, in Siemens, it's like an exterior thing. So once you have like your text written down, and actually I did modify it, right? And now everything updates properly. I just did one extrude. So that extrude was specific to number 1 in there. So you can extrude or as you go. Yeah, and then the remaining parts are just like adding a couple more like details. Maybe the one that is relevant to today is that the phone symbol that actually I didn't free flow it, right? I had to bring a picture of a phone and trace it out, which is what we're gonna learn how to do today. In fact, I did finish the phone after session 2. So what I did in here, let's go to sketch, I think it's 76. Yeah, so these are all splines, which is actually it's a good segue into what we'll start doing in just a moment. So I brought a picture, which I deleted afterwards, right? I traced the picture out in the space where I wanted that to be, and I extruded that afterwards, and I gave it like the font. And then I colored everything green. This is a very, it's an okay-ish font. Again, I'm not proud of this. This is just session 1. That's why I'm curious to see the fonts that you guys might design afterwards. Okay, so that being said, feel free to ask me more questions if you guys want about anything of this. I'm happy to review all of these projects as you guys go. But let's go to Google and let's look for the Argentinian peso. So let's do this one together. Argentina peso 1976. So let's download in particular this picture, which I just found. So I'm gonna open image in new tab and let's see whether I can save that image. Yes, perfectly. So I'm gonna go to my folder and I'll call it peso picture. I'll say save. Very good. And then I'm gonna, please feel free to stop me. But I'm gonna teach you a technique that it's called the master sketch technique, where we do everything on a single sketch. And then everything else, you're gonna reference it out from that initial sketch that you did, which is actually, it's a technique used a lot in product design. So something good to have in mind. Yes, question. No, okay, very good. So I'm gonna go here to file, new, again, model, and I'll call this the Argentine peso. And I'm gonna save it here in my Siemens NX folder. Okay, so we're gonna start here. So hopefully, feel free to stop me. This might be a couple of the review, but we're gonna do the peso together, and then I'll let you guys do the airline logos individually, and I'll walk around answering questions. So where do we start? So to start, go here to where it says Tools and Raster Image. So click in Raster Image, and it's gonna tell you to specify a plane. So I'm gonna choose that plane in there as the base plane, and then choose an image file, and I'll go for the peso in here. So we'll bring the coin picture in here. It's fairly detailed, actually, I will say, and maybe, again, I don't care about dimensions, but I do end up giving everything a dimension of 200. So I'll click there, okay. Very good, so now you brought the picture into this environment. And then we'll go here to home, we'll click in sketch, and now we're gonna start sketching stuff on the same plane, which in our case was the top plane. All I'm gonna start doing for now is, first things first, I'm gonna trace 2 lines from the origin to roughly the middle, because this picture just happens to be 200 by 200 millimeters, which is great. So I'm gonna make these 2 lines. I'm gonna click on letter D. Oh, D, and I'm gonna dimension. Oh no, it's in angular. I wanna make it inferred. There we go. The inferred. I'm gonna make these 2 lines 100. That way, that point that we're gonna have in there will happen to be the origin of this circle, right? That we're gonna trace in a moment. I'll right click on these lines and I'll make them reference lines because I want them to be hidden. So now's the fun part. We're gonna start on this sketch making everything, right? We're gonna start tracing. So I'm gonna start by doing a circle and I'll draw the circle. So today is the only day that I won't care too much about fully dimensioning stuff. I want things to look roughly okay. So I did that circle, and then with, oh, this one is gonna be fun. I'm gonna draw a line that goes roughly up to there, and then roughly up to there. I'll make these 2 construction lines, and then I will join them right there. And then I'll click here on which says make equal, and I will make equal length, and I will make these 2 lines equal. I'll say okay. And then I'm gonna dimension that to be, yeah, 95 seems fine. Okay, so how many sides do we have? Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is a 12-sided coin, which means that I'm gonna make this angle right there be 360 over 12. Yes, very good. So now we're actually gonna start making is it called a dodecahedron? I think it's a 12-sided polygon. So what we'll do is, yes, we have these two lines there. So I'm gonna go to where it says pattern. So we're gonna do a circular pattern. So the select curves, I wanna do these ones, specify point over there. I'm gonna say count and span. I want 12 over 360. And I'll say, okay. So now you see that it created very easily. So that's a nice way of creating polygons, by the way, which we may end up doing. I did it in the fidget project. Yes, it also created these lines, but it doesn't matter. For now, what matters are these ones which are solid. And we can actually do the exact same. Oh, we can do the exact same thing with the circles, even though I might leave the circles for later. I might do I think it would be too busy. Actually, hold on, three. So it's 10 circles per line. So what we could do, so what would be a good way? We could draw a line that goes like that. I'll make that a construction line. And I can say that I want this line and that line to be parallel. I'll say, okay. I'll just move it roughly there. Then I click on letter D. I will make the distance between those two. Yeah, 3.5 seems fine. Okay. And then I can draw a little circle right there. Let's make that, yeah, 4 seems fine. And then we can do a little linear pattern. So let's do a pattern. Select curve, this guy, direction over here. And we can eyeball approximately how many of these do we want. So we want 10 circles, but the pitch distance will probably be like, 2 is too little, maybe 2.5. 5. Right, so it's maybe that circle. So we're gonna do pitch distance of 4.5. Okay, but I will edit that circle to be 3.5. There we go. Very good. So 3.5, 3.5. I can feel free to stop me. I'm going fast, but I'm happy to review all of this again. And then what we can do is, again, here on pattern, now we can do a circular pattern where now we're gonna select all of these guys right here. And then specify rotation point, the origin, and it already remembers the details. I'll say, okay. Oh, at least it's gonna be symmetrical. So now we've gotten some of the basics out of the way. Any questions so far? With the coin? Okay, I promise I will probably finish the coin and then I will go around helping you guys individually. But now, maybe this is the one that we could do together. We're gonna start the spline tool. So I'm gonna click here in spline and I'm gonna start tracing out the 1 in here. I'll say, okay. Then I go here with the 1, with the line. I'm gonna go all the way down like this. This is approximate, right? It doesn't need to be perfect. And only trace the exterior, because then we can use the command that we learned last time, which is offset entities, that will allow us to create an exact same copy of this. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, so this spline looks kind of ugly, so I can just then click on these points and just modify them there to make it look a little bit nicer, like this. There we go. I could also mirror that line, but I'll just free CAD all of this stuff. So this is a nice technique if you ever have like a picture of something and you wanna laser cut like a raster vector, like a raster version of that picture, so you can trace all of that picture, and then you have I've done it before with, I got a picture of an airplane, and I just traced it out, and it looked pretty nice in the end. I can show you later. Okay, so that looks roughly okay. Is that the one? Okay, perfect. And now this is where it might take a little bit more time. This one, again, we can all do it slowly. Let's just trace out the word peso. Actually, before I do, I'll go here to offset, and I can click in all of this, and I'll say -3 or maybe -4. And you see how it creates like an identical copy of the exterior in the inside. So that saves us a little bit of time, just like that. Okay, so let's go here to spline, and let's do pretty quickly. It doesn't need to be perfect. Very good. The word. As I always like saying, if your careers at MIT failed, now you can go work for the Mint and make your own coin designs in there. You can tell them that you took the class, and they will hire you to make coins. You can also create your own custom coins. Just like that. It's also very relaxing to work on this. As you can see, very it's very therapeutical, as I like saying. It requires patience to do it properly. So one of the videos that I'm gonna release today, I did this exact same exercise, but with the Coke label. Imagine the time that it takes to trace the word Coke, right? With all of that very delicate calligraphy that it has. This in comparison is a walk in the park, I would say. That one took me at least, I think it was like 20 minutes just to trace the word. Very good. You see, this is an example where it looks kind of ugly, so I can just move a couple of the points. So the more points that you create on your spline, the better the result will be, right? Because you'll have more control over the curvature. Okay. And again, I'm not being very precise. Just trying to get overall, especially given how pixelated this image. So say okay. I think the S will be a little bit easier. I can actually click on this point and then just drag it there. We go. That way it's nice and perpendicular. The sugar line here. Another one right there. So you see, sometimes as you create more points, the spline somewhat like corrects itself. So, and then you can go back and edit. In other words, we're just doing all of the hard work, because once you're done, like just tracing out pretty much everything out of the picture, then it will be so easy to create a model of this coin. It will take you maybe, I would say, 5 minutes once we're done. So again, we'll just make this carefully. Actually, the S ended up looking quite nice. Here for the O, let's start here with the spline. Actually, so here's an example where I will need to click in this command that's called make coincident, and I'll click on this point, and I'll click on that point, and I'll just join them together like that. So now we just messed up a little bit of our spline, so I'm just gonna drag the points to where they belong. Don't worry, we're gonna fix all of this in a moment. It's fine. The interior of this stuff. Okay, and then again make coincident these 2 points. Say okay. It's okay if it looks a little bit rustic, because you can pretend that whatever mint, or I guess that big block of metal that they use to print the coins, it could be a little bit worn out. So by that means, then it means that your coin is a little bit rustic as well. Okay, so we got the peso word in here done. Let's do the numbers. Hopefully the numbers will be even a little bit quicker, because they have more straight lines to them. Say yes. I'll make them more blocky like that. You don't have to necessarily do the year 1976. You could make, say, the year that you were born as an example. 1976 is easier because it is the number that you're tracing, but we could have used also the text command in here. But as I said in the first class, doing CAD is like Karate Kid. So you have to do a lot of repetition. Our 9 is smiling. So we're almost done. Now, actually, for we are gonna do the flowers, but only the exterior part of the flowers, I promise. This one might be a little bit more, actually, I'm not sure it's gonna be as difficult, but the key, as you probably started to notice with me doing this, is that I don't use always a single spline. I use multiple ones. Because if you do everything out of one single spline, it's gonna be a mess. I'd rather create a couple, especially when there's a drastic change in curvature. All right, so let's do the flower, and then I'll show you the fun part of all of this, the reward of so much effort in tracing your coin. And here the flower, actually, it's okay if it's not as regular because it looks kind of, we're not gonna do the interior part of the flower, just the exterior. All right, so I'm gonna exactly trace a spline right until there. Then another one that goes here. Just like that. So to give you an idea, actually, when we did the first time that I did a coin, which was the exact same session, but teaching it for Onshape, we used a Japanese yen that was from the 1950s. I think that coin was actually slightly easier to design. The difference that time is that we did do the reverse. Today we're only doing the front side. So overall, the amount of work was the same. So we're doing a slightly more complex coin, but only one of the sides. We're doing, I guess that's like a bulb of the flower. Another reason that will come out actually later not to do things exactly as shown in the picture is because of copyright purposes. One of our projects concerns Lego bricks, and I do call them Lego in there, but I make them slightly different with different dimensions because I can guarantee they will come after you, especially if you make all of these models free for the people, right? Imagine like you're now 3D printing all of these bricks, and Lego is not able to monetize on that, so they will not be very happy on those things. Yeah, so don't my PSA for today is don't make things identical to reality. Make them maybe 1 millimeter different than what they're supposed to actually be. Okay, so we reached the top part of the plant, so that's some progress. One thing that I haven't done which I might regret if things go wrong, is I haven't saved my file. So especially when you've done so much work like this, it would be a good practice if you guys are doing that. I'll do it in just a moment, but to save your file, because it has happened to me, especially when the system overloads suddenly, that I've lost everything. It seems that we have, oh, unfortunately, one more leaf and one more valve, and then we are done with this exhilarating tracing experience. Okay, I think we're done with this part of the coin. And actually, what I'm gonna do now is first I'll finish clicking here. It will take a minute in there and save. Very good. And actually, now that I have all of this stuff, I will go back to images and I will delete the picture. I don't need it anymore. So right there, I'll say, okay. So now you can see what you've done, which is quite cool, right? When you think about it, this entire model of the coin. At least this is a completely very rustic way of doing the all of the CADing. So now bear with me. I'm gonna show you very quickly. Well, not very good. I'll put like maybe 10 minutes to do it, and then I promise I'll go around and answer questions. Well, once you reach this point or whichever point you are, maybe just click save and we can always come back to the sketch. Now we're gonna actually rename this and I'll call this master, because we're not gonna touch this sketch anymore. We're just gonna leave it as is. In fact, I'm gonna create a new sketch in the exact same plane, which is the top plane, just like that. And I'm gonna use this command in more that's called project. So what does project do? It's exactly what that name means. You click in project and I'm gonna here clicking where it says single curve instead of infer curve, single curve. And I click on that circle and I say, okay. So now I'm in a new sketch, still in the same front plane that we were working on, but I just brought that circle from the previous plane into this one. So if I were to edit the circle on that one, theoretically this circle in this sketch would also modify itself. I believe it, even though it hasn't been working as well to me, but for now, this is fine, right? Because that way it's not as messy. So we're gonna build different layers of the coin as if it was a cake. So I'll click here in finish. So the first thing that I'll do is I'll extrude this upwards, maybe by 5. Let's do 10. Let's make it like a thick coin in there. So now we're gonna do a new sketch here in the top plane, and you can still see this in here. So now I'm gonna go again to project curve, and instead of using single curve, I'll go to connected curves, and you'll see what this does in a second. But now I can click on the dodecagon, just one of the lines, and because all of these are connected, it selects all of them at first. And I click OK, and now I'll go to finish, and we can very easily now subtract, and I'm gonna subtract by, let's say, -2 as an example. Very good. So now you have the dodecagon written. Now a sketch here in the front face, and now actually all that remains is very simple because, well, actually I'll do project curve. I'll do single curve. So this is gonna be a little bit more painful. Actually, let me see if there's a. You know what? I'm just gonna select all of these ones right here. I'll say OK, and I'm gonna see if I can write again. Oh, it selected that and center it there. I'll say finish for a moment. I can just go here by 1 millimeter. I'll unite upwards. I'll say OK, and we can give it a little bit of a edge blend. Bless you. A edge blend. We can make it a chamfer just like that. So those, I'll say OK. Very good. And now actually we can just do a circular pattern of these guys in here. So select feature, I'll do the extrude, control the edge blend. And for the vector, I will just select the face in here. I already know it's 12 and 360. I'll say OK. And it very easily extends all of those. So yeah, so we actually didn't need to do the circular pattern on the sketch. You could, but I think this is easier, especially if you don't want to manually have to edge blend all of these guys. Let's do another sketch here in the top face. And now let's select the peso symbol. So I'll go here to more, project, connected curves, and I'll do these two guys right here, finish. I'll extrude upwards, maybe by 1.5. Let's give it a little bit more texture in there. And if we go back to the picture, it's a little bit slightly rounded. So maybe I'll go here to edge blend. I'll select all of these edges. Just like that. But maybe, oh, I should first look, there we go. But I'll make that a 0.5 as an example. And I can also do the same thing here in the interior of our one. Very good. Okay. So now we have our one in there. Let's go here back to sketch, sketch on the first in that plane. And now we're gonna go here to more, project curve, connected curves. Let's select exactly all of the flower. Very good. And now let's do finish. And let's bring this up again. This time, yeah, I think we can do 1. And if we go back here, the flower is also edge blend. So we are gonna go here to edge blend. Tangent edges. Let's see. Wonder whether I'm gonna try different ways of doing this. See face edges. Oh, there we go. This is a lot simpler. So I can just select the face and it will select all of the different edges in there. But it seems that because of the curvature, 0.5 is too much. So maybe I can give it 0.2. And you see now everything works out nicely. And I'll say, okay. So now we have our flower right there. Click here to sketch again on the top. And now let's finish by bringing in more project curve. All of our, very good. Okay, okay. Finish. And these guys as well will do 1.5. And we can do the exact same trick that we had here with the edge blend. So select all of the different faces. Let's see 0.5, whether it would work. Yeah, I think that's fine. And now I'm gonna hide all of the sketches. That way you don't have to see them. Very good, just like that. And now just one last detail that is not part of the coin, but I think it, well, you can actually see it's like a little bit, it has a little bit of a pattern around the edges. So let's give that too as well in here, because I think it's gonna make it look even nicer. So I'll go here to sketch. I'll go there, and then actually this might be better if I do it on the original sketch. There. Actually, you know what? I don't want that plane. I can just delete it. I'm gonna go back to our original sketch, edit. Wait. And let me see whether I can create one more line that goes very subtly right there. I will define this angle to be maybe, yeah, 3 degrees. 3 degrees could work. And actually, maybe less. I'll do 1, just like that. Now I know where that point is, and I'll go here to arch. And let me see whether I can select that point. I can select that point and do a little arch, just like that. Boom. I'll say finish. You'll see how we're gonna use this one in just a second. Everything should load. So now I'll go here to sketch. I'll select this face now. And now I want to, maybe that is a bit messed up. Hold on, let me go back to that sketch again. Let me see whether, oh, I see. I need to drag this down. Want to complete it. See if it actually doesn't matter. I'll do it on the on this front face. So go back here, edit. I'm gonna project again that curve. I'll say okay. And now I'll just draw another arch. Doesn't matter the dimension. You'll see what purpose this will serve in a second, because now I can go to extrude, select that curve, and I'm gonna subtract. And I will say until selected, which is gonna be this face, I'll say okay. And let me just hide these guys for a moment. And now what we can do is another circular pattern. I'm gonna select that guy, select vector, this, and now we can do, let's see how many 50 would look like, maybe more, to 80. Here's where the time where you can take your creative freedom, right? To make it as, let's see, 150. Very good. And it has a little bit of a texture in there. Perhaps the last thing that we could do is just chamfer. Oh, why not do it down there as well? And let's assign a feature color. Actually, you can do in here it says no selection filter. It allows you to do solid body, and now you do this one is a command that I learned recently. Control J, and now you can just change the color of the entire body instead of doing individual features. And we can make maybe the color like maybe this brownish. I'll say okay. No, that's an attempt at a 1 peso coin. And it took us, yes, it took us an hour to make it. So it was a little bit more than what I thought it would be. But you see how it's a very powerful technique, right? And now, just from a picture, you're able to get a pretty interesting 3D model out of this thing. Okay, so I'm gonna save this, and as I promised, I will walk around. I'm gonna show you guys real quick before I go back to around the room. What does what does this project command really entail? So I'm gonna just go here to new, and I'll draw very quickly. I'll call it project example. And it's very convenient for all sorts of ways. And you'll see me using it a lot. Let's do just a quick sketch in here. Let's actually, let's just do a circle. I'm gonna call this 20, okay, very good. And I'm gonna do a quick rectangle. Actually, I'll just say finish. Then I'm gonna go here to sketch. I'll do a, I just wanna create an angled surface. You'll see me in a second. I'll say finish. I will extrude this by 20. I'll go here and I'll do a sketch. Actually, so project originally, right? So I have this top face of that rectangle. So if I were to do a sketch in here, and I say project, that circle is down there. So essentially all it does is that it brings that circle back to the top. Now that's pretty obvious because it's very similar. Now, what if, let me just go, let me get rid of that. Actually, I'll just hide it. What if this was an angled plane? So let's go here to sketch. And let me create that plane for you guys real quick. Drag entire assembly. Oh, I can just do it like that, doesn't matter. Go here to finish. I'll do subtract. Let's say 4, whatever. I don't care like what it is, but we just hide all of those. Then we still have our circle, right? So now if I go to do a sketch on that face now, which is at an angle, and I click on convert project curve, and I click on the circle, now that is no longer a circle. It's like, well, it's very unnoticeable, but that is actually an ellipsoid. It essentially, it projects all of those coordinates into here, if I'm not mistaken. So suppose you're at this stage, right? Something that attempts to be like, I already deleted the picture, I don't need it anymore. So this is the master sketch. Everything that I'm gonna do will be referenced with this. So I go here to sketch. I chose the top plane as an example, right? And then I just start building layers of the coin as if they were a cake. So you go here to more, project curve, and I want, this one it's like obvious, right? It's just bringing the curve to the same plane. And I'll give this, I'll say finish, and then I go to extrude. There we go. And you can extrude upwards by 10. So now you have the exterior of the coin. So back, let me do one more example. I go back to sketch. Now I select the top face of here. And you can still see the master sketch. It's like the only one that I'm showing in there. So now I go here to project curve and I can do the ones. And in here, just make sure this tab in there tells you whether you're selecting a connected curve or just a single curve. So it's just, you can do some hacks in there to save yourself a little bit of time. You click on OK. And now what I do is finish and then extrude. And I can bring that up by 2 as an example. I do just one more just to make sure that it's hammered down. So sketching that face, and I'll do here project curves. We can do say just 5 of these, right? And we'll do a different pattern if you want to. And then we can just extrude this upwards. I'll say okay. This time I will chamfer them by there one. Hold on, let me do that again. I think that looks better like that. I'll say okay. Then you go to pattern, select feature, both the chamfer and the extrude. Otherwise, it's not gonna work. For vector, select the like this face in there. Let's say that I want 24. So this is a little bit different, right? It's a different pattern this time. It looks kind of cool. It's like a little bit staggered, more like a ninja kind of thing. Does that answer your question? I'll give you a quick preview of how I've used this technique already in a lot more complex project, which is this guy right here. I promise I will go over this when the time comes next week. But I designed the paddle racket. Paddle is a type of like racket sport in here. How did I start? Actually, let me hide everything. I brought the picture and I traced it out. So this one is a lot more complex, right, than making the coin. But you learn this technique and it allows you to do a lot more powerful things like this. So that's gonna be you guys next week, literally. But I'll delete this. If you guys if you have the time, right? Like up to you. I don't mind. What we end up doing is we go here to session files, session 2. I was thinking of cutting, say, something like this. Doesn't need to be as complex as this, but something that you could finish today. So I just brought a picture of, it's the exact same technique as we did before. I brought a picture of the airline logo. This one is in the case of Emirates. So if I hide everything and I just show, actually, hold on, let me go here to view, show and hide. There we go. Close. Okay. So I did a master sketch. In this case, that was all of this. So it's just a coin that had all of the Emirates stuff. So that was the purpose of I guess, the airline logo. The same thing with the Angry Beaver. It was the exact same idea. I can just bring it down in here. Let it down low. Angry Beaver. Let me just go here to. There we go. So I traced it all like that. So it wasn't. So you can always, if you want additional practice of this technique, you can download the files, hide everything, right? So that way you're only looking at the master sketch and then start building it from scratch if you want. So I already did the work for you. So you can start, like, say, from this layer. In fact, if you guys want, we can do this one together, assuming, well, whatever you prefer. If not, I'll just continue going around. I did one more, which was, I think, Air France. Here, or the raw file. So hide everything. View. There we go. The France was actually pretty simple too. Let me just do one more example in here. You go to the peso. Let's do a different design for the regions, right? Instead of that circle. So what I would do is here, just go to home, sketch. You go to like the top face is fine. Now I would like, I'm actually gonna, something I do all the time is I'll actually project that circle. I'll make it a construction geometry and I will actually fix that circle. Actually, it won't even allow me. The reason why I'm doing this is because I'm gonna trace a line. There we go, like that. I wanna know where the origin of the circle is. So sometimes it's difficult to identify that. Okay, so you found that in there. So now I can go here to rectangle and I'll do a center rectangle in here. That's gonna be like this big. And I can make that 3. Can make that 3 as well. See that rectangle for some reason. Let me see if I can make that 1.5. That way it doesn't move. Okay, I'll say finish. So now what we can do is go here to extrude. I'll say subtract. What was it, like -10? I'll say okay. So now I have one of the ridges done. In fact, I'm actually not terribly happy with that design. So maybe I can go here to chamfer. And what you could do is select all of your edge. Actually, hold on. Let me chamfer, single edge. Let's do that like maybe like 0.5. What would that look like there? We're gonna try a funky design in here. I think it will look interesting. So then you go to feature pattern, and I wanna feature pattern this and that. So like the cut and the chamfer in there, circular, specify vector again, this face. So let's do, I think we did 150 last time. 150 might be too much. So let's do maybe, actually, let's see, I'm actually not sure what would that look like. Actually, this technique is identical to how I would make a gear, like a very specifically dimensioned gear too. So you just make one of the tips of the gear. So this, when you think about it, it actually kind of looks. So maybe I'll go back here and I'll edit the parameters. That way it doesn't look exactly like a gear. Maybe I'll do 120 to give more spacing. Still looks like a gear, but more like a traditional coin design. And then maybe let's do face edges. But maybe point. Oof. There we go. It's extremely heavy to point. I would like to make a little, let's do a mint of this thing. So let me open again the original part. So say you want to actually make an injection mold of something like this. So I'll go here to file. Let's I'm gonna save it as Argentine peso mold. Okay. And now I'm gonna create a new plane. This one is gonna be called a bisector plane. It's a plane that I click in this face, I click in this face, so it chops that in half. It will be useful in a moment, right? But I'll just have that one in there. And then I'll do a sketch here in the top face. I'll say, okay. And now I will need to find the origin of that circle again. So I'll go here to more, project curve. Actually, let me show that sketch again. Good. I'll make that a construction geometry. And now I will do a quick rectangle like this. So we'll make it a small mold. It doesn't need to be terribly big. It will be 400 by 400. Just like that. Finish. So then we're gonna extrude this curve, let's say, actually not unite. Here's where you would say none. So this is where you would do like a new type of body, right? So we're gonna create two bodies. So we can say extrude this upwards by 10, by 30, and then in the other direction we can do -30. I'll say okay. And now there is a command that's called split body. Actually, before we do split body, here's what I'll go to where it says subtract, and I'll say, all right, I want to subtract from this body. The target body is going to be the coin. So that one, I think I can just select the pattern. So it already recognizes that. I'll say, okay. So now the coin actually disappears. I'm subtracting the coin from this entire mold. So now, yes, I'll do split body. And I want to split this. And the face is going to be the plane that I just created. I'll say, okay. Let me just hide the sketch that way it's clear. So now these are two different bodies, right? So if I were to hide this one right there, let me just hide the sketch in there and that plane. You see that now we have the negative, like that side of the coin being shown in here. And now if I were to, actually, let me show both of them again. If I hide this one, oh no, hold on. If I hide the other side, then that was like the top side that we didn't do a CAD model of. Yeah, so that's a very, very simple way of making, I mean, at least the bare bones of the, yes. So I think this one looks a little bit cooler. The bare bones of the model itself. Because you can try it out. Actually, you don't need to 3D print. There's like some I think there's some acrylics or maybe even Play-Doh that you could use. So you could actually 3D print this and then you do like some stamps in there. You could maybe put ink, right? And that you can actually write your name or whatever, and you can like stamp like other designs like that. Just a little bit. I will stop the recording.